Hey there, Jen here. Allow me a moment to make sure things are copacetic. Oh, oh, let's do that one. Some easier on my eyes. And I've been having some headaches. Okay, so things look good. Allow me a moment to pull things up on my phone. I would like to give folks a couple minutes to show up and see if my channel actually gets any type of traction at all. It takes my counter to take all day to count to 20 for 20 views that I had from the time of posting. So I like to give things a minute or two to kind of show up. Please ignore if I don't look up to your standards. Okay, so this is going to be a tough video for me and probably for some of you if you take the time to watch it. I thank you for being here. Some of this is going to be up to your own godly discernment. Let me pull this up and make sure we're looking like we're live. Cool. Okay, so we are, even if the channel gets no push, we are at least live. All right. Now let me get to the beginning or intro of the video. All right, so it is said that you should not write about or talk about things that you don't know about. A wise person once told me that, and I've heard that quote before. I do believe that this is why God asked me to speak about these things, is because I have experience in them. So yesterday, America was traumatized yet again. Most of us, or some of us, were who saw the video. Hopefully, and I imagine much like with Kennedy, they will scrub a lot of that, I hope. I am going to talk about what happened yesterday with Charlie Kirk intermittently as the video goes on. So if that's what you're here to hear about, it will be throughout the video, but it is not the main topic of the video. I want to talk about where we are as a nation and where we are as a people, and absolutely about the spirit of violence that is over America. Now, I have placed my disclaimers in the description bar, but I do speak of a place of experience with this. You're not going to know these people, but I will speak their names because it's important that we remember that these are real individuals who lost their lives. Now, some of us understand that those in control want to traumatize us. We also understand that this is a system of the best type of movie making and technology that we have ever seen. I will touch on that, but I am going to approach this as a very serious topic today. Joey Visley and Stephen Corey. When I was 15, I lost one of my best friends to gun violence. I'm not afraid to say those words because I am not monetized. And bigger channels that are monetized speak of these things very freely. And from what I understand, we are still a free people. And even if we weren't, my tongue is not under the control of any sponsorship or monetization. I hope that counts for something. When I was 15, I lost two people very close to me. Stephen Corey was my neighbor. I thought we were going to get married at like 8. We used to get into trouble and hijinks together. He helped me learn how to ride a bike. He dug up flowers with me from beside the creek. We didn't realize it was our neighbor's property, but we got in trouble for it. But we dug up flowers and planted them in my mom's yard for Mother's Day. When he was 16, his life was taken from him by his cousin. He allegedly ended himself. I'm going to refer to these things throughout the rest of the video as long sticks. I believe that's what the indigenous Native American culture refers to them as, even though some of them are short. Steve allegedly lost his life because of a long stick that he used on himself twice in his head. Use your own discernment to decide if that's true or not. He was 15 years old. 6 months later, after attending that funeral with this person, my high school sweetheart was ended by a long gun. It was not in school. It was after school and with students, but they were school-aged people. They were both 15 years old. Steve and Joey, I miss you every day. You are a big part of who I am today and why I am the way I am today. And I hope in some part, things that I say today honor you in some way in your memory. But I know that death is just a doorway. It is not eternal. And that they are still here with us in a sense. We just cannot see them. They're on a different frequency now. Okay. So what a lot of us saw over the past week or two, first on a train against a white female, and then publicly at a university of a family man, an alleged Bible believer. I'm not going to talk about that person's politics. While they do matter to the case at hand, overall, overarching, they don't matter. Why? Because I'm going to lose subscribers for what I'm about to say, and I'm not afraid of that. It happens, and it's okay. See, that's the thing. When you disagree with someone, that does not give you the right to end them. If you don't like the way that they were born, the color tone of their skin, their gender, that gives you no right to end them. Even if you disagree with their politics or the way that they're living their lives, that gives you no right to end theirs. Because a nation that is an eye for an eye ends up with everybody blind. And like the Clampetts and the Judds, that feud that went on through generation after generation after generation. An eye for an eye never ends. And this is why we're seeing this cyclical pattern repeat in our country. What I was exposed to in my shorts feed accidentally, I did not go looking for this information. And I want to be very clear about this. This is a big part of why I'm doing this video. Yes, it's a tragedy what happened. But more to the point, suffering is only good unto someone's refinement, the evolution of their spirit, their character, and their soul. You hit a point where you plateau, much like with exercise, where you become desensitized. And the trauma and the suffering no longer refine you as a person. They no longer give you character or good morals or want to help you fight the good fight. But suffering and trauma end up on the other side of the coin, making you a worse person. That is what's happening in our nation now. I'm going to set aside for the moment what actually happened and talk about the media's reprehensible activity. And not even the mainstream media at this point. I'm talking about YouTubers. I'm talking about people on this platform very openly. And that's okay, because this is the truth. And that's why I'm here. You have people who tell you they speak the truth, but how can they possibly be speaking the truth when the world loves them? When they're banking off of what they speak or don't speak out of their mouth? I make no such claims. I make no money. And I sure don't get fame or popularity from doing this. I did not go looking for what I saw. It was in my shorts feed. And when something comes through your shorts feed, there it is. So it started out as just a regular Charlie Kirk video that everyone saw in mainstream media. But then it was edited and cut to a closer view of what happened. I greatly admired somebody on this platform for a lot of years. Not as some type of romantic icon, maybe not even as a Superman, just as one of the first truthers that helped to nudge me awake. Much like everyone else, this person's character and their behavior has declined over the last few years. Sadly, this person also is very arrogant and egotistical and will not listen to correction of any kind. So I don't even know if it matters if I say that person's name because they're not going to change their behavior. And I don't even know if they're important. They know who they are. I left a comment. They removed the short. Then they did a live stream where they included it in that. Let me talk to you a little bit about respect and about trauma. So as this person's video came up, I was exposed to what happened to Charlie Kirk up close and personal. Regardless of how I feel about his politics, because though I do lean traditional towards traditional values as far as, I'm a straight white woman who's a mother. Um, I did not approve of or appreciate or agree with his delivery. It was just like a lot of people don't agree with my delivery. I can be kind of crude or crass for a female, and people don't always take that well. I'm a work in progress. I'm working on it. So this YouTuber that I greatly admired and had not been subscribed to for years and decided to resubscribe and just see what was going on. Someone who I also suspect has something to do with a couple of people who disappeared because they happen to be in the same place at the same time. You see a lot of these YouTubers, they travel all over America. They tell you they're ex-military. They went all over during Rona while we were all locked down. You should ask yourself why. And quit sending them money and quit idolizing them. So this person that I greatly looked up to on this platform had posted it like it was one of the regular mainstream videos, but then in the middle it cut. And it cut to what actually happened to Charlie Kirk up close and personal at the University of Utah. You can go look for it yourself. If you choose to, I would advise you not to. Because again, suffering and trauma do have a place when you are hardened of heart. It's what woke me up. But at a certain point, it stops refining and it starts doing real harm. The people who are showing this person's passing, and I say that, this person's assassination, the people who are showing this, it is reprehensible, detestable, and you're a part of the problem, you see. America is so desensitized. We are so over-traumatized. We have suffered so much mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially, some of us, physically, some of us, over the last 20 years, but definitely over the last 5 years. How dare you? Let's assume that it's real and it's not movie magic. And I know some people are going to be like, how could you even suggest that? Look, we know that the media lies. They have no qualms about that. We know about central casting and that most people who are in central casting are military. We know that military ops now require a whole lot of acting. Why would they have cameras? Just think about it. Why would there be live cameras at war sites? Especially in like the 60s, what they just waited for those guys to carry along their heavy camera equipment. People got to start thinking. That man has a family. He has a wife and children who were there, though I don't know. I pray to God they were behind closed doors. He has a family. And even if it wasn't his family, there are children online. There are people online who don't need to be traumatized or suffer anymore. There are people who are subscribed to certain channels just because they want to see you travel or the nature that you show. And then suddenly you put something like that up and it's not even on your main channel, it's on your travel channel. Overlander. Shame on you. You know what you did. And you're not going to change. You're not going to say you're sorry. You're not going to apologize. America needs to see this. Here's the thing. Yes, there are certain things we should know about and we should be privy to. But that man has a family. How dare us? We have books filled with celebrities and their morgue pictures like Marilyn Monroe and JFK, which we're going to talk about in a minute. These people have families who just might happen to be online, people that maybe didn't know yet what happened. Maybe they couldn't call everybody yet. And suddenly you're showing, and I've watched a lot of movies, and you guys know that. I have never seen nothing like that in my life. Well, I have when I've watched slaughterhouse videos of how they dispose of pigs and cows that are for the enjoyment of mankind. It looked just like one of those videos. If you can't compare that to what happened in Butler and notice a very serious demarcation in realism, then there's something wrong with you and you're a part of the problem. I don't care if only 3 people watch the video or subscribe to the channel. Hopefully, that's 3 people that I can reach and tell you why violence is not the answer, ever. It's just not. This is why we're stuck in these time loops and cycles, and this is why things keep repeating, because we've not learned our lesson. I'm going to read a comment now real quick. Kelly Michelle says, I definitely feel some type of way towards the tubers that immediately covered Charlie Kirk. I feel it's some type of distraction in our community. It's more than distraction. People are so focused on views and on the dopamine. It's not even the money all the time. And I know this because I was a part of it when I was on Facebook selling money like that or selling makeup. It's all about the dopamine. They want to be first. And that's the problem with people who debate. He was a celebrity and you put yourself out there and you take risks. But there were unnecessary risks, just like with JFK, that were taken that should make people go, where was Riley Gaines? Riley Gaines, my spouse pointed out to me, had been beside him the last several months at every college campus, at every debate. And the problem with debates is people want to be right. It's not about truth. It's about if I can convince you that I'm right, even if I can't prove it to you. That's deceptive on its own. Like I said, I don't necessarily believe that Charlie Kirk is a true Bible believer. I believe people use that as some type of virtue signaling because they know that this was once a Christian nation. They want to tear all that apart and the whole foundation of our country because of the religion of peace. You're going to see more of this, unfortunately. They will never tell you who's directly behind it, but I believe that Mr. Kirk's grotesque passing and assassination is to let you know that persecution is about to go over in America. And my intuition, my connection with the one who made me, has not proven wrong since first channel, Buri and Jen. Unfortunately, because I do not want to be correct about some of these things at all, in any way. I don't want to be right. I'd rather be happy. Kelly also says, I saw someone, I can't remember, who says his death was reported 5 days ago. I'm going to touch on that in just a moment. Somebody knew. Hold on. Aviation JC says Kirk spewed so much hatred masqueraded as patriotism and Christianity, but I still condemn the mocking of his death. R.I.P. Absolutely. And that's the thing, just because we disagree with somebody doesn't give us the right to end them or to even want to end them. Even with all of the stuff going on with the rainbow hijackers and how just the visuals of that are harming our children, I don't think they deserve to be ended. We're all alive here, which means we're all essential. The Creator, in some way, shape, or form, sees us necessary for one another's refinement and journey and walk through this life. We need to respect that. And everybody has a chance. Anyways, regardless of his politics, nobody deserves to have their life cut short in such a way. But I'm here to tell you that that's just the beginning. Symbolically speaking, let's talk about symbolism for a minute. Symbolically speaking, what you saw on the train with the alleged Ukrainian refugee, because I'm not I don't know that it matters that she's, now let me be clear. If what they're saying is happening in Ukraine is really happening, it's a travesty. Okay. However, I have reason to doubt that because of the documentary that Prime put out about Ukraine right before the war started. And the fact that we saw Sean Penn give Zelensky his Grammy. That is more symbolism. That is showing you how phony and fake the system is. And at this point in time, you should be so media literate just from watching my small channel that you should be able to poke holes in all of their theories. And I mean my small channel as like the lowest of the low standards. If you are taking in the right information, if you are consuming your media responsibly, and if you are digesting and processing information in the way that you should and doing your own research, that's what I mean by that. Okay, so what's the next thing? Symbolically speaking, what you saw on the train, and I've said this from day one, when we said it was a Masonic takeover, you see the black and white checkerboards, you're also seeing biracial couples. I'm not saying I have anything against that. I'm talking about symbolism here. I'm talking about Harry and Meghan Markle, okay? Remember, there's the royal connection that almost everybody's forgetting. Just bear with me. Because again, whatever connection I have to the Lord has not been wrong in some of these things. So if I can help one person throughout this time, then that makes all the suffering I've endured because of it valid. Because trust me, if I was wrong about these things, I would not suffer the way that I have. And you can watch those videos anytime. The only way in which this video is about me is in the message that I'm bringing. I know something about long stick violence because I've dealt with it. There is a deception regarding that as well, and I have not figured it out yet, but there is some type of deception regarding those. And again, I don't know what it is yet. I haven't completely figured it out. But symbolically speaking, the white woman is under attack. Definitely the female, the true feminine, okay? You can say divine feminine, doesn't bother me. I'm not afraid of words here. And though I am a Christ follower and I lean towards traditional ways of life, I'm on the fringe. I'm rather a mystic. And even what some might call a little bit Gnostic in my ways of thinking because of all the suffering I've seen. I love the Lord, but I know there's another element here that wants us to fail. It wants us to lose our very souls. And that's why you are seeing a lot of this happen. Symbolically speaking, you are going to see the white female be attacked more and more unless she is with a man of color. You're going to see the white male attacked more and more unless he is with a woman of color. And a lot of our partners and spouses have went behind our backs and made extra relationships for this reason, because they're a part of this plan and they knew it was coming. That's what the Mandela effect is really about. And that's why I never pronounced this word correctly. I apologize, but apartheid. That's what the Mandela effect really means. Nobody wants to hear it unless it's supernatural. Well, I know this because I'm close to those who are involved in this plot, whether they know they are or not, whether it's some spiritual element controlling them sometimes, or they're just flat out liars. I don't really care. I know that the information they give me a lot of times I need to pay attention to. Riley Gaines was not there. That was also symbolic as well. I would also advise you to look at her name very closely. Blonde hair and blue eyes are going to have the easiest time right now because of the Aryan problem. You see, and you're going to say, well, you just said black and white couples, biracial couples. You have to understand that a lot of these groups have gotten together. They do not want specific people here, but they are chameleons and they will pretend to be like true people. And I'm going to go a little on the fringe here for a moment. You're giving yourselves away. No human being, no true human being has bloodlust. That's a fact. It's either instigated by some external force, but you will not see that type of excitement that you will see from people who have lost their humanity or never had it to begin with. What we are dealing with here, I don't want to say what it is, like if it's reptilian or if it's um Cain's lineage or any of that stuff. Like, I don't want to get involved in that part of things. All I know is that it's not human. This is not a human element. This is an anti-human agenda where at the very end of it, you'll see that the humans they're using to get what they want will then be gotten rid of as well because we're all useless eaters to them. You do not see this type of bloodlust from regular mankind. And you're going to be able to tell now who's human and who's not, or who lost their humanity by how they react to this situation because they're not good at pretending to be us. This is why everybody's doing these videos. So many people have changed. So many people have changed because they have. But it's more than change. We're dealing with something other. So when you see certain people sharing the actual gory details, that is either a human who has went off the rails due to greed for money or greed for the dopamine hits. I gotta be the first. I gotta be the first. I gotta get this video out. I intentionally wait, intentionally, out of respect for the situation, the people involved, and for my own heart to settle because I don't want to react emotionally because I could. That's why I told you the beginning part of this. Once again, I have dogs in this race too. I lost two people very close to me to gun violence, to long stick violence. But again, bigger channels can say the word, it's just a word. And it's the truth of what happened. Otherwise, if you want to censor all of us, you're censoring truth. And we would have to ask why you're doing that. Just like when Rona happened, why wasn't anyone then allowed to say the word? Digital is easier to scrub than analog. You know that, right? You know that a lot of what's happening now, they want to reset, they want to rewrite. So they gave us all digital phones, crappier cameras than ever. They're not better, they're worse. Look at the older photos, you'll see. So they can erase all this like they did the last how many times because it's an anti-human agenda and you need to learn the symbolism of these things. So seeing that horrific event not only ensured that more people were going to be traumatized and either A, put into a state of fear so that they're easier to manipulate, or like you saw there, running and panicking and not making wise decisions. Or they're hoping people react through anger and they can start this revolution that they want so badly. Because the thing is, if you follow spiritual laws and you know your spiritual consent laws, they cannot do us harm unless we act first. That's why they have been at this so long. And I am so proud of humanity for just kind of maintaining their cool and allowing the self-control of the Holy Spirit to guide you because what they want is us to react. That is the goal. So they can end as many human beings as possible. Now, I'm not going to say it is alien to the human race, but it's been here. They've been here, the fallen ones. My spouse said, you know what? I don't want to hear it right now because I mentioned the Bible during this event. I don't want to hear about that right now. I said, "Oh, well, you're upset about this event," and he was a Bible believer, allegedly. Well, I never heard him speak about words like Nephilim, but he's more conservative. Well, if you don't know the word, how do you know it's not conservative? Those beings use this fake reincarnation system. They plan their own demises. They plan the vessel that they're going to take over next. It's in Buddhism, it's in Hinduism, it's in Babylonianism, it's in the story of Thoth and the Emerald Tablets. If you don't believe me, just go read it. We are seeing these same things today. They want you so separated from that time frame that you think either A, those are all superstitious, dumb people, or B, those things are no longer here because I see no evidence of them. They can look like us. One of the attributes of angels is that they can change their shape. If you have fallen angels, they still have the gifts that God give them. Just like human beings, they are using them no longer for good, but for the detriment of humankind. So I would urge you, and I would ask you, to start boycotting people who promote violence like this. He has children. He has young influential, or he is very influential in the younger generation. People who don't need to see that. That is horrifying. And I lost people to violence as a teenager. And I'm a mother now, twice over. And I've been through some heinous things, as most of you know. I did not need to see that. So I can only imagine what our youth is going through right now. So let's talk a little bit about the symbolism throughout what we're seeing. They want their race war. That's what they want. They want revolution. And there are a few specific groups right now that are totally unsafe. If you are the elderly, you are not safe. If you are infirm or on disability, you are not safe. If you are a white woman, especially a white woman who is no longer able to procreate or produce children, and you are not in a biracial relationship, you are not safe at this point. If you are a true Christian, a true Christ follower, you are not safe. I have been preparing to die since 2018 when that alleged fallen angel walked into our lives and started showing me that they were going to end me. So I've been preparing for death since then. I would urge you this, and that's what all the distraction is. They don't want you prepared for the spiritual journey, for the walkabout, for what really matters here. We are in school. We're supposed to be evolving. We're supposed to be graduating. I don't want to get held back with their videos again. Let's talk about what they're not talking about. And let's talk about why the media needs to go down as a whole. Maybe my channel too. I don't know. But I know that mainstream media needs to go down. And now so do the YouTubers that tried to take their place. They need to go too. What is everybody not talking about right now with the horrific assassination of Mr. Charlie Kirk? Let me show you some stats. Before I do this, let me say that I don't trust stats. You can always either guarantee that the stats are much higher or much lower than they're letting on. Why? Because people lie and people have to enter the stats. And the easiest way to lie for people is with numbers. This is why you see so much embezzlement happening, is because of greed. But it's really easy to lie when it comes to numbers, especially big numbers. Hold, please, while I take a little sip of my Sunny D. Now I'm going to bring a page up and I'm going to make sure on my phone that it does come up. So please don't go anywhere. Let me just have a moment to do this. I'm going to show you what nobody's talking about and what should be talked about more. And this is where celebrity has got to go down. The whole idea of celebrity is wrong. that if you're seeing just a black screen after about 30 seconds or a minute, to go out and come back in. Now that's what I'm gonna do. See on my phone, it went black. So I'm gonna go out and go back in, and there it is. Just a little tip for you guys. All right, so I have stats pulled up, and again, I'm gonna leave that up to you, the viewer, to discern on whether these numbers are a lot higher or a lot lower than we are being told. I'll show you what I Googled when I get there. Okay. This is a list of children who sadly lost their lives only in 2025 America to this type of long stick pew pew violence. And again, I say the word, I don't say the word. I don't like them to begin with. I do believe, if you read my disclaimers, I believe in the right to defend yourself and in the Second Amendment. But if you're a Christ follower, Christ was a pacifist. And again, they've got a lot of people thinking that Christ would approve of having these. And for spiritual purposes, let me explain something to you because, again, this is something I know a lot about. If you have one in your home, you are giving the spirit of violence legal entry into your home, your life, and your family just by having it there. If you have it in your name, if you've signed a paper, you are giving it license, legal, you're giving it legalities, right? Because demons are very legalistic. They have to follow the laws that God lays out. Legalistically speaking, if you sign a paper and you own one of these and your name is over one of these, you're giving the spirit of violence legal rights to enter your life. Live by the sword, die by the sword. Now let's check this out. This is just an AI overview. I will bring up another link in just a moment. As of mid-September 2025, you see what it says there. Long Stick Violence Archive reports that, and then the year's not even over. This is why what you're seeing is reprehensible. You're seeing none of these people cover this. Why aren't they talking about it? As of mid-September 2025, this type of violence, Long Stick Violence Archive reports that 168 children ages 0 to 11 and 713 teens. So these are two separate stats, and they do that on purpose. If they add the number together, you would see that that number is very high. If they it's a marketing trick. And again, I learned this when I learned a little bit about advertising and marketing. This makes the blow a little less. It lessens the blow. We'll say it that way. 168 children ages 0 to 11 and 713 teens ages 12 to 17 have been ended by long stick violence in the US. In the US, this data is preliminary and can change as the year progresses. The Everytown Research and Policy also notes that there were 70 deaths and 97 injuries from unintentional. That's when you're just caught in the crossfire by children in the first half of 2025. So that's a whole different stat. These are the ones that are reported. These are the children that somebody cared enough to report. These are the ones who were found out about. Imagine what is not known. It is disgusting and reprehensible for YouTubers to chase that view and that monetization to the point of not only turncoating against truth. I don't know what to say about it. It's reprehensible. Did there Kirk because he was a celebrity or whatever. And again, I'm not demeaning or degrading. It was a horrific act. It should have never happened. Okay? But as a celebrity, you do take certain risks. And you know this, that you're taking these risks. I'm not a celebrity. I feel like I got a target on my back just because I wear a cross or I have a hoodie that says Catholic or because my skin is white and I happen to be a woman. And I'm not being a Karen, I'm being legitimate with you. I shouldn't have to live in fear. Nobody should live in fear. I didn't want to see all this happen. I knew that this stuff was coming and nobody would listen. This is going to happen in churches too. You're going to see a lot of this in churches. And I'm telling you right now, it's not because I know anybody. I'm a pacifist. Read my disclaimer. It is because I know the Most High and I talk to the Most High all day long, every day, even when he doesn't want to hear from me. He's probably so sick of me. So sources for the 2025 data, it says the GVA says that children 0 from 11, there were 168 killed, 353 injured. How many of those will need medical care for the rest of their lives? How many of those children had the flags flown at half staff for them? This administration will tell you anything out of its mouth. Oh, we love children. We cater to children. Where's the list? Where's the files? I don't want to see them now because they're not going to be legitimate. They won't be. And anyone that saw this video and the Trump video, and you can't tell that the Trump thing was some Hollywood set, shame on you. You shouldn't be voting. You shouldn't be driving. You shouldn't be having children if you have not basic discernment. I am sick of this 15-year-old mentality and grown people following me around expecting me to disbelieve my eyes. And if I sound angry, you should be too. So let's get to a few more stats, shall we? Teens ages 12 to 17, so far this year, there have been 713 ended, 2,009 injured. How many as of this date are still in the hospital and don't know if they will recover? How many might pass down the road from complications due to this injury? This is what another reason stats aren't always valid. So I'm going to show you something else from another person that everybody loves to idolize. I thought he was cool at first too. I'd really like to know why his voice is like that because it's not just him. There's a lot of people with that going around. You should ask yourself what that's about. I don't think it's a human attribute, but let's get to something else. Cool, it's still up. Look, and I lost people. That's just too bad. Again, you can turn people off. You can think you can turn your conscience off, but it's funny. It takes my counter two days or all day to count to 20. You can tell when somebody's telling truth. Kennedy Commission. This is from the LA Times. Check this out from this person that everybody loves to love. Kennedy Commission Child Health Report, and we're going to get to the year 1963 after we touch on this. Kennedy Commission Child Health Report ignores, long stick violence, the leading cause of child death. What does this mean? So this is regarding science and medicine. Get away from me. Look at the one eye. And why do all these women look the same? I don't know who did this picture, but it's kind of weird. Always, man. Always with the symbolism. I don't get it. Like, it's just weird. The Make America Healthy Again Commission, led by Robert F. Kennedy Jr., has released its Make Our Children Healthy Again strategy. The 20-page report, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services described as a sweeping plan to reverse the failed policies that fueled America's childhood chronic disease epidemic, end quote. In a meeting live streamed Tuesday from the department's headquarters, MAHA, Make America Healthy Again Commission members, took through ways the U.S. will tackle poor diet, chemical exposures, excess prescription medications, and the toxic combinations of too much stress and too little activity. Notice how they say that. They never tell you why they're going to study this stuff. You assume it's to make you better, but do they ever actually say that? Do they ever say that we want to make you well? It says Make America Healthy Again. How about cured? You got to pay attention to their wording. Very obtuse. Okay. The four primary threats to child health the Commission identified in May. But wait a second. Absent from the document was any mention whatsoever of guns, the leading cause of death for people under the age of 18. Now, this is according, I think, to the New York Times. That's where we're at. LA Times, sorry, under Science and Medicine. Interesting, no? These people who love God so much, and they love life and truth, and they love children. Everything they said running up to election was the opposite of what they're saying now. And I've done so many videos on how this is the time of inversion that I really should not have to go over that again. It says here, firearms have been the leading cause of death for children ages 1 to 17 every year since 2022. Now, let's forget again for a moment the spiritual implications of some of this. I have reason to believe because I trust God, and God told me that a lot of the innocence from the earth has already been removed. He didn't actually describe in how that was, it just, that is how it is. Furthermore, a lot of us here, at least for myself, the only way for me to wake up was through trauma. The only way to uncalcify my heart was through, heady things like that would, shake me awake. So let's put all that aside and assume that this is true, right as they give it to us, right? Because I have reason to believe that has been a secret rapture, and I'm not going to talk about that right now in this video. Because regardless, why is this not in the report? Either it's a lie or they're covering it up. There really isn't any other options. But according to this, that is the leading cause of children's demise since 2022, and it's completely absent from the Maha report. Now, again, I'm not a political person, but you can't talk about current events and not touch on politics. I could do without politicians of every kind. I think we should have councils in smaller communities, equally divided between men and women, elders of the community, no longer than 2 years. That should change and be random every 2 years. That would eliminate any desire, any even possibility for corruption, because you have no one chasing lobbyists and money and donations. There would be none of that. Do you understand that when they chase monies and donations and lobbyists, that is, they say it's a campaign fund, that those people live off of that money. They complain about us not wanting to work, but none of them actually work. This is what they do. They fleece the American public. Now they're saying we owe the IRS when our government is defunct. When are they even going to tell us that we pretty much don't have a government and we're under martial law at this point and we are under civil unrest? I've had more planes fly over today than I have since 2018. And I live about an hour from the Cleveland airport, about an hour from the Pittsburgh airport, right down the road from the Youngstown airport, and right down the road the other way from a base. I have not seen this many planes or heard this many planes fly over during the day since 2018. We need to be united. Just like parents have to have a united front in front of their children, we need to be united as citizens and as mankind and put our foots down. No more violence. And we cannot answer violence with violence. So, what is the answer? Standing strong and firm in truth and actually having a place to take these people. Jails, asylums, I don't care. They want to take us there. It's worse than that, though, because the people running things, or the ones running things, actually want us all ended. And the best way to do that is to get us firing verbal verbal spats and physically after each other. while they are underground or in their castles where nobody can reach them. This is why America has been parceled off and sold off to the highest bidder. This is why they want you depressed and down. They want you ending yourselves. That is the easiest way that they can still have the resources. They really don't want a war fought on this land because then that harms the crops, the land, the resources that they are after, that they want to acquire so desperately. We need to say no. We need to be willing to lose our lives for these causes, for the future, for our children's future. Our relatives did it. Why are we not willing to do it? Kelly Michelle says there is more to his voice than meets the eye. I would agree with that. I don't know what's going on with Mr. Kennedy, but it's not what he said. And I would go one further. I have two things regarding the Mandela effect, and it actually ties into this because we're going to jump to something else, and then the video will be ended because we're going to look at events from 1963. However, for right now, for our purposes right now, let me go over here. Let me stop and make sure that you guys can see and it's not just some black screen. Cool. All right. Now I'm going to close a window or two and I'm going to bring something else up. Okay. Cool. I think anyways, are we still, how far behind is it? All right, so I'm going to pull up a page that is historical events in 1963. But let's chat for a second about his voice. I don't know if anyone else remembers this. This is like a Mandela related thing. So again, I don't know if anyone else is going to remember this, but I'm going to bring it up because I can't seem to get it out of my head. One thing about Mr. Kennedy is when John F. Kennedy's brother, when his brother passed away, Bobby Kennedy, which I believe they're saying is Robert's dad, when he was assassinated shortly after John F. Kennedy was assassinated, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was in his, I think it was in his neck area. When I first saw Robert Kennedy, I thought that it was Bobby. He looks, and I know it's supposed to be his son, but he looks the same in the eyes. And he seems older than the junior would be. When I first saw him, I thought it was Robert Kennedy come back to life. I was like, holy cow, that's Bobby Kennedy. Isn't he deceased? The other thing I wanted to say is Ghislaine Maxwell. Ghislaine. And I don't care how they say it's pronounced. I just could care less at this point about those people. When the story first broke years ago, and this is why it was all so strange, she was listed as his sister. She was the sister of Epstein. She was his sister. Now they're saying she's his wife or something? So somebody has to clear me up on that because I'm not sure what's going on there. So we're going to, and I lost people. That's okay. We're going to check out historical events here real quick. And I want to bring up something that we've talked about a little bit on the channel. Make sure it shares for anyone who does decide to watch the video after it posts. Oh, what's happening now? Are we on there? Yes. Okay, cool. All right. So what we're looking at now, historical events from 1963. Why are we looking at this? Because with what is happening in our current world, it seems like these events are cyclical. It would appear that Mr. Kirk's passing, he is a martyr. And this is why I wanted to bring up the children. There are so many people who are martyred and who have been martyred in the past 4 years. that it's a shame that their voices and their names and their stories are at least not yet known. Charlie Kirk he will probably mark the first public martyr of this tribulation. And that's kind of sad. Because again, there are people who have plenty of stories that are just never heard. It says, you should read Stolen Identity Revealing the Real JFK. Ooh, I didn't know there was such a thing. Yes, yes, I will. Can you post that comment, Kelly Michelle, on another video? Revealing. Yes, that's fine. Can you post that on another, like maybe on the community tab underneath this, if you think of it, because I don't know if I'll remember that title. So what I wanted to say is it seems like this event he'll be the first public martyr of this tribulation. Why does that matter? Well, I believe persecution is about to go over. That is what the train in tragedy has shown us, and that is also what Mr. Kirk's passing has shown us. Because they took place in very public venues, these things now, and again, I've told you, targeted individuals, that was covert persecution. We are now moving into the stage where it is overt persecution. And if we are in this time, I look for the Antichrist to be revealed at any moment, literally any moment. Okay. Um, Things are cyclical. So Charlie Kirk's passing would be akin, not the same, almost combined. It would be like JFK's passing and MLK's passing. Though he's not as big or as important as JFK, the similarity is the fact that it was done publicly and it was quite obviously an assassination. JFK also, on that day, he should have had a covered motorcade. He should have not been in a convertible. Allegedly, it's what he requested. I wonder if his wife, though, had something to do with that. I wonder if Jackie O found out about all of his alleged escapades with these women. And I wonder if she convinced him to put that down. Some people would say, Jennifer, how dare you? How could you suggest such a thing? Look, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. Riley Gaines was not there when this happened to Mr. Kirk in a very public venue. She'd been there the last several months. How did she get by not going to this one? You can see these things are pre-planned. Now, somebody also mentioned that somebody else posted about his passing days before. This is where we get into the supernatural aspect of this. We have talked about Philip K. Dick and how he appears to have wrote the future. We have talked about the Simpsons and how it appears as though they have been prophesied. We've talked about Dean Koontz and how apparently he is a prophet. We've talked about the Bible and how those things come true. Do you see a pattern yet? I did a video when this, like a long time ago, on this channel and on the other one about an old channel. He's probably big now because that's just how it goes with me every channel I watch. Firestarter 777, he made a prophecy, an alleged prophecy, but he also spoke in tongues, which I now know is witchcraft in the way that it is done by charismatics. He said that everything that you see will come to you and happen to you. Those who are against humanity believe that just by reading something, we are giving our power. So right now, loud and proud, you need to say orally and in prayer, I do not accept passive consent. I do not consent to passive consent. It is not a thing. Neither is manipulated consent. When they manipulate you to get your consent, but you don't actually know what you're consenting to, that's also void, and it will return void to them. You see, they are racking up a whole lot of spiritual debt, and they are indebted to humanity in a lot of big ways right now, and they know it. This is why you're seeing the desperation, and a lot of what you're seeing is damage control at this point, and they are getting very desperate, which is why we need to not react emotionally, not get violent, especially now, because believe it or not, in the spirit, we are winning. But some of these things are happening because we're also under judgment. You need to keep praying, fasting, and repenting. And I know it's hard. But that's what we need to be doing right now. Okay, so the next thing is When they put something into a quantum computer, when you just type it out, like so and so passed or this happened, who are they having do this? That it's actually then happening to celebrities? Because this is not the first case of this happening since 2020. It's happened with a lot of celebrity passings. Somebody writes about it on some strange website, and then suddenly you see it happen. Is that what happens with quantum computers? See, my guess, and it's a really good guess, is that the Antichrist has the cheat code for our reality, and that's how it's being accomplished. I'll do more on that in a separate video. Hopefully, I will not forget because I keep meaning to talk about that aspect of things. Let's look real quickly at this. Events of 1963. Now, this is when you saw Kennedy ended, okay? It says American banker George Wood succeeds Eugene Black. News. A lot of news sources, a lot of PBS stations started broadcasting as well. Um, blah, blah, blah. That's a lot of TV stuff right there. There's sports news. Not exactly what we're looking at. Mona Lisa on loan unveiled in America's National Gallery of Art. It was a good time for America, allegedly, to a point. And again, when you see big art pieces, when you see them on the move, you know that it's a time of war because they're hiding that stuff so that it does not get damaged. I know this because I know my history and I know what happened right after World War II. Scratch that. I don't know my history. I know a little bit about art history. So we have a lot of sports news. Mainly what I'm looking for here, though, The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. Oh, she released a book called The Bell Jar, and then she ended herself a month later. I'd be curious as to learning what that was about, because again, we're seeing a lot of instances of somebody writes something, somebody says something. This is why, like, for example, Gen Z, like my children, they would be like, DEAD. And I'm like, don't say that. Don't curse yourself that way. Don't bring that onto yourself because you're sovereign. You have control over what happens to you. If you're saying DEAD, well, do you see what I'm saying about this spiritual warfare that we're under? That's why I don't personally allow long sticks into my dwelling place because I know then that I'm giving the spirit of violence legal license to enter my life. It's the same thing with voting in elections. If you write down and this is why elections, they're already pre-programmed. They already know who's going to be the face of the world leader, even though that's not who's actually leading things. It's all phony baloney. It's about getting you to sign somebody's name over your own. It's spiritual. Because if you do that, then you're in alignment with that person. For imagine all the people that voted for Trump who are now regretting it. Well, you signed your name with him. So all of the passings that are occurring, any atrocity that he commits, because you signed your name down with his. Clear, you know what? So we had a lot of this is when they were doing a lot of hiding under our desks. When they started doing what did they call them? Drills, where everybody would hide under their necks. Los Angeles nightclub and music venue Whiskey A Go Go. You'll see a degrade in morality around these same times when these things happen as well. And I don't trust some of this because it's the opposite of what they're saying. And what I think what we're going to see is a replay of 62, 63, 64, and it's going to be a little inverted. Let's see. Again, what I'm really looking for is like major events. Soviet lunar probe failure. That's actually a big deal. Notice too, after Kennedy, the US performed the first nuclear test at Nevada on February 8th, the first test flight of the Boeing 727, which is actually, again, important. February 11th, the CIA Domestic Operations Division was created, the DoD. That's important too. The Beatles record 10 of the 14 tracks for their UK album Please please me. We know that music and entertainment is a big part of things that occur as well. February 14th, the US launched communication satellite SYNCOM 1. Figure skating history. Uh, the banality of evil. On February 16th, philosopher Hannah Arendt's controversial account of the trial of Nazi war criminal Adolf Eichmann is first published in The New Yorker. Again, we have a lot of this going on because they pulled these guys over and they hid them here. They gave them amnesty here, but they committed crimes against humanity. America is under judgment for a lot of things that happened then. The feminine mystique, which is regarded as the start of the second wave of feminism, is published on February 19th. So again, you're seeing a lot of these same things cycle, and you'll see minute changes. But if we want to stop repeating our history, we have to stop reacting in the same way that we once did. The Soviet withdrew troops on February 19th. The USSR informed JFK it is withdrawing several thousand troops from Cuba. We know that he died that year. We know that MLK this year did his speech, I Have a Dream. That's when he started doing this. February 21st, US performs another nuclear test at Nevada test site. Aren't these places supposed to be like no good for 200 years? Yet people live there. Daytona 500, for whatever reason, again, entertainment has a lot to do with this. As much as I love ball, I love baseball, I played softball. We also know that that's very Masonic as well at this point, unfortunately. And again, I believe that Masons started out as a godly thing. Wickedness has infiltrated every avenue of everywhere. This is also a really bad time for New Jersey. There's a lot going on there. Again, state by state, I think they're shutting us down, cordoning us off, and putting us in an internet loop. Because I've not talked to anyone from the middle of the nation in so long, and that's not normal. If we're actually all connected, it should be random sometimes. Not all the time because of VPNs, but sometimes. Oh, March 11th. Here's an event of interest. U.S. Defense Secretary Robert McNamara orders the adoption by the U.S. military of the M16 assault long stick, originally designed as the AR-15. And there's a lot going on with that the last several years, isn't there? The Beatles performed as a trio, and it says, as John Lennon was ill with a cold. Interesting. And what else do we got going on? Musical history, Frank Zappa, 22. There's that number. Let's keep going. Elizabeth Ann Seton was beatified and canonized in 1975. She was beatified in that year. You get the idea, though? Do you see how we're going to see a lot of these things that are repeating? Now, we see the closure of Alcatraz on March 21st in 1963. What are they talking about now? Reopening Alcatraz, the original Alcatraz, and now they have Alligator Alcatraz. Again, do you see how things are cyclical and they're repetitive? However, they are somewhat inverted. That's key to what's going on. This is how you can start to know what's coming ahead of time and maybe prepare and prepare your soul. I have been preparing to die since 2018, and I almost lost my life in January of 2019. So I've been preparing for that ever since and allowing God to soften my heart again and soften my demeanor and my ways and make me in the way I was originally intended to be made. Because death is just a doorway. It is not a permanent state that we are in. Just like happy or sad, death is not forever. It is but a shadow. It is but an illusion. I'm not saying it's not scary. I'm not saying you won't miss people. I'm not saying any of that. I'm saying it's not permanent. I can't really help you prepare your body. Yes, with small little tips, but something I know about is preparing yourself mentally and spiritually and making yourself strong. in cooperating with the one who made you, source, God, creator, maker, Abba, Father, whatever you choose to call that one. It's not my job to tell you how to have that relationship. I'm just trying to encourage you to have it. What else did we have going on in this year? And again, this can help us to kind of get an idea of what's coming here. France performs underground nuclear test at Ecker, Algeria. I didn't know that. And again, France is going through a lot of stuff right now as well. LA ends the streetcar service after 90 years. We should totally bring that back. It was much more aesthetic. You didn't have all the accidents that you have today. It wasn't as cluttered. It was just all around better. You don't have to agree with me. Well, I love my car and I want to have my car. Again, people, we've really need to reprioritize our. You realize that the things you don't really want once you get them, and it makes sense. Okay, I'm trying to get closer to our current time where we're at right now, the month that we're in. Oh, Lauren, Winston Churchill became the first honorary U.S. First honorary. I guess it was like because he was a prime. That's weird. I don't know. I just never knew that. U.S. performs another nuclear test site, another nuclear test at Nevada on April 10th. Okay, so a nuclear powered submarine sinks 220 miles, and we've talked about 220 or 22. It ended 129 men, 17 of which were civilians, and we know 22 and 17 are big numbers for them. Uh, and again, sports have a lot to do with what's happening. You'll notice that, like, if a state's doing really well and things are happening for it, chances are it's going to be the state. Like if it has a real good underdog story, that's going to be the state that wins the Super Bowl. Much like you're saying, with Texas had a lot of tragedies this year. I wouldn't be surprised if they end up winning the Super Bowl. And I don't know nothing about football right now, like who's training, which training's looking like. I know nothing about it. I just know that they've had a lot of tragedy there, so I wouldn't doubt to see it. Another one that's possible is Michigan, and that's for the opposite reason. Okay, so basically what I wanted to do is to show you how you're seeing these things kind of repeat. Police in Birmingham, Alabama use dogs and cattle. April 12th, police in Birmingham, Alabama use dog and cattle prods on people on peaceful demonstrators. I can't. Why is no one else shocked by all these things? Why is no one else disgusted by these things? What has happened to humanity? Like, I just don't. Oh, it's so gross. I don't understand. And I really did not need to see what I saw yesterday. And shame on you, Overlander, for posting it. And you posted it in a stream on your main channel anyway, knowing how many people look up to you. Well, somebody told me if you can't handle this, then you can't handle what's coming. No, dude, you have no idea what I've been through. It is because I've been through it happened is enough. They don't need to see the action that we have in this country, especially in this country, to watch bad things happen. It's the same reason people want to watch snuff films. It's the same reason a lot of watching right now on Tubi and stuff that say they're fake. I told you about the found footage, man. A lot of it is their satanic initiations. And it's just the truth. It's not satanic panic. I'm not in a panic. But I live here in Ohio, near Cuyahoga. Hear the stories. See how the people behave. See them and hear them lie on a daily basis about who and what they are. You don't have to believe me. But if your child comes to you wanting to do some hike and they want to go alone, do not say I did not warn you. It's not a panic, it's the truth. Well, there is no such thing as Satan. Of course they tell you that. Because they know what they're doing is wrong. That should be the most disturbing part. They do it in secret because they know it's wrong. And that's a problem up here. If you know the stuff you're doing is wrong and it's harmful, and you're still doing it anyway, you're the one who needs put away. Not the people who follow God or believe in the Bible, because that actually gives us some moral basis. And if you ask me, I would say that basic Christian, Christ followers, and basic non-radical Muslims, we have a common enemy, and we have very common foundations for life as far as don't cheat, don't lie, don't steal, don't kill. Well, again, non-radicals. We're no longer in the Old Testament. Johnny Cash, and this is so funny. I've been singing this song and I even shared it on my page. I've been singing Ring of Fire for like a week and I can't get it out of my head and I don't know why. Um, but it was released in April 19th of 1963. Beatles meet the Rolling Stones for the first time. 14th Prime Minister sworn in on the 22nd of Canada. Okay, so do you get an idea of what's going on here? We have a lot of these nuclear site tests taking place. We have the Cuban Missile Crisis. We have Fidel Castro and the wanting upheaval of these other nations and their governments, just like you're seeing now, replacement theory, only it's with the government. And the US military is guilty of this all over the place. This is why so many people come back so disillusioned. Most people don't want to be doing those things. Most people after Vietnam spoke out, and I've shared videos on that as well. The people now who telling you they're ex-military, but they're on YouTube, but they're pushing a very specific angle or agenda. Most of them will tell you that they love God or they love their country and they love God because that gets them in the door to your mind and you will start listening to them. And by the time you realize you've been indoctrinated into some radical theology, it's too late. Do you see what I'm saying? They will tell you whatever they need to. They will flatter you however they need to get in the door. So you accept them as one of you. And then they will do whatever they can to manipulate you, persuade you, and convince you that your way is the wrong way and you need to go this way. I'm not telling you to listen to which way to go, but I know that God is the source of all morals and values, and that's where we need to be looking to in these times. But I wanted to say very clearly that what you're saying is a cyclical event or a cyclical time period that is repeating itself again right now as we are watching on the world stage. I thank you for being here. If you hung in there with me for this whole video, I hope that it makes sense. And I hope that the next time you consume some media that you think before watching or listening, and that as you watch or listening, that you are using proper lenses of media literacy. And by all means, please stop exposing yourself to this morbid fascination, this gory, because I've seen where that leads people. I know adults now who expose themselves to a lot of these things when they were younger, and they're not well balanced people in the mind. And it's starting to show. You're going to start to really notice a difference in certain people. All I can say is we are okay. So I just wanted to end this video nicely for anyone who comes back to watch it later regarding the times that we are in. Please go through your subscription lists, go through your feeds on all of your social media. If you're not willing to cut any of the social media out, pay attention to who you're watching and listening to. Don't allow yourself to be indoctrinated into some type of radical theology accidentally because at first somebody flatters you to get their foot in the door of your mind or your living room or your bedroom as you consume media. Make changes now. We might not be able to affect the world stage or what they're showing to people, but we can absolutely affect our own communities, our own families, and our own small corners of the world. Violence is not the answer. It is just not the answer. There are other ways to get our points across. And if it would come to that, much like the storming of the Bastille Day, a lot of these people simply just need put away and dealt with in a separate manner. I don't know if institutionalizing, I am not necessarily the one with the answer, but I know we need to talk about solutions and be solution centered and not problem focused. So please pay attention to who you're listening to. If they tell you they love God, make sure that that lines up. If they tell you that they love Christ, but they're waving pew pews around in the air, that's not someone that's really a Christ follower. Christ is and was a pacifist. We are supposed to be pacifists. Is there a place for flipping of the tables like he did in the temple? Absolutely. That is righteous anger. But he did not go out of his way to do any harm, at least not directly. Okay. There are other ways through this if we are rational thinking beings. We need to be better than the beasts in the fields. And right now, we need to be looking to the beasts in the fields to know how to act because we can't even touch grass anymore and know what's normal. We have to look to nature to know that. So, by all means, please reconsider who you listen to. Please reconsider who you watch. If they are showing someone's actual assassination, you don't need to be watching that. You don't need to see that part of it, I promise you. Just knowing that it happened is enough. Stop traumatizing yourself and stop traumatizing your children. I love you guys. I hope that this video made sense and helped somebody out there. I love you, Steve and Joey. You guys have a blessed day. Bye.